It took a very long time, but I actually recently finally finished Attack on Titan, the TV show. I watched up through the Royal Government arc, or I think the first two seasons and then half of the third season. And then there were no new episodes, and I stopped, and the entire series finished. And I thought, well, that's probably a good time for me to watch the thing again. I caught up on all the old stuff because boy, I needed catching up on the old stuff, and then finished the series. This was the last big, like, super big crossover anime that, like, not even wasn't just anime fans watch. Like, this was a one that captured a lot of people's attention, and I like anime. I definitely have watched some anime. I am not the person that watches just like a whole bunch of it. Like my wife, in the time I have known her, has probably watched more anime than I ever have in my entire life. Just because it's on Crunchyroll, it's on streaming, she can just whip through it. And I had to watch it back in the day on things like Adult Swim and cable television and whatever. Uh, Kind of piecemeal, and occasionally on DVD, but mostly that piecemeal process. So the last big crossover one I saw as like kind of the end of that chapter of my anime fandom would have been Full Metal Alchemist. That was something I was big into, and there was a big chunk of time before I was like watching anime seriously again. Probably post college, like living with a couple of roommates that had, you know, decent amount of anime DVDs. Like I would have completed. That's when I saw Akira. I would have completed Cowboy Bebop, then Samurai Champloo, stuff like that. So I have different chapters in my anime fandom that I could go into, but it wouldn't be very interesting. Anyway, finally finished Attack on Titan. So the point I stopped at, and obviously giant spoilers for anybody else, it reminded me of the first time I saw Fight Club, in that I saw part of Fight Club and like didn't finish it. And at that point in time, Fight Club is a movie about fight clubs, right? It's not like this thing with all these big extra layers. And then when I finished Fight Club, it was like, oh, that went someplace very different that I didn't realize it was going to go to. That was my experience with Attack on Titan. By the time I am watching it, into the Royal Government arc, you learn a lot of things about how Titan powers are inherited, but it is mostly a story about people fighting giants. People that are very disadvantaged in this fight against giants, fighting those giants. And there's still a lot of mystery in how they came to be. At that point in time, it's very much implied that the Titans are people. The one character's mom is, very much explaining her status. Very much explains that the Titans are somehow people. So imagine my surprise when, actually, I'll take that back. Attack on Titan ended, and I became aware of it being fairly controversial. And back in my timeline, I was like, okay, Attack on Titan fascist. There is a lot of military stuff and definitely some European motifs in artwork and stuff like that. Like it's not a mystery to see what the cities look like and the uniforms and puts some things together about what that could possibly mean. But that's not where it went. I certainly wouldn't have expected that the controversy about Attack on Titan had to do with the curse of the Titan curse and what the outside world was and where the Titans came from, and that all of these characters I had known were essentially in a prison where they had to atone for their curse of their people. And it was like, Oh, buddy, yeah. Um, okay, all of these characters are Jewish coded, but they actually have a curse about their peoples. Wow. The the author the author accidentally justified the curse, the racism. Is that what's happening here? So I certainly didn't expect us to go there. I didn't expect the whole thing about the Marleyans. That was surprising. And in fact, I think the longer the series went on, the more I was like, this is becoming a lot, and I don't know if he's gonna stick that landing. And I don't think he does all the way. I think in general, I think Attack on Titan, the longer it went on, the more complicated it became, the more shades of gray it became. It very much was black and white at the beginning of like giant, destructive, unknowable evil attacking us poor defenseless people trying not to get brutally eaten, to a whole lot of shades in gray. Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? Wait, is the main character the bad guy of the series? Like, holy shit. I wasn't expecting any of that. Of course, rewatching it, there are some signs. There are some warning signs. Um, the main character has a lot of anger issues. There's some concerning things. So I guess I could see on rewatch how this person would end up being um, a villain, a villain of the series, certainly. Yeah, it's kind of a bleak one, isn't it? Just with like the implication that the curse can never truly be gotten rid of, and will just this cycle of violence will just like keep repeating itself. That's bleak. I mean, they end up defeating your main character villain, but I think he successfully destroys like 2/3 of humanity or something like that. Like it's bad. It's bad. It's bleak. I can handle bleakness, but like, oh boy, when you're not in a good mood, maybe that's not the maybe Attack on Titan isn't the thing to watch. You got the brutal violence of the monsters, but also just like the commentary on people. Yeah, it is definitely dark. I will say, oh god, I think I liked it more as like an action anime than whatever it ends up being. Whenever it tries to be something more, I don't know if that's me being a basic bitch about it, but the parts I liked the most ended up being like the opening few arcs where you're learning about this world and it's just like brutal in its violence and its action and stuff like that. Like that was pretty jarring and interesting. The one that becomes a fireworks factory, a return to Shishingami arc after the Royal Government arc, which is like, oh man, God, I didn't care about that one that much. I know it's setting up stuff for later on, but like that one and the female Titan arc where the just like chasing her through the woods a lot. Like it's a lot. That one's a lot of chasing through the woods, and the Royal Government one was a lot of like political stuff. I didn't political intrigues, warring political faction stuff. I didn't care that much about. I know it's setting up stuff for later, but like yeah, I wasn't about it. The opening stuff and the return to Shishingami, where it just seems like all the fireworks are going off in that factory, all the Titans are being thrown at each other, all the action things are happening. Those are like probably my favorite sections. The Marlene stuff and onward, it's like all interesting. It's all it's all gripping, but there were certain points where it was like, all right, let's just get to the ending. How many episodes are there yet? And the series does play a nasty little trick when you're watching on Crunchyroll, where it's like, you have this many episodes, and you're like, cool. And then you get to the last, you're like, I completed all the episodes. What's this? Oh, there's two things that aren't in the episode list. Oh, they're both like feature length time. Okay. yeah, I guess I'm tackling that one another night. I guess in general, like, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. And I thought at the beginning that, like, when you're watching the opening sequences, like, that this could be great, a great anime. Like, this could be a classic one. And I don't think it gets there. But, you know, it seems like it's like almost the first thing this guy ever did was this anime. And he probably had parts of it planned out, but he probably had parts of it where not so much. Like the timey-wimey stuff, I'm always weird about timey-wimey stuff because it can make things really ridiculous. And I think it kind of did here. I guess you could say the longer it went on, the more I was like, okay, yeah, this has definitely got some flaws to it. Let me know what you think. I am of the mindset that this is a very anti-fascist show in that it is definitely trying to point out the danger in othering other people and hating other people and the cycle of violence and the cycle of escalation, all these dangerous things leading to essentially the annihilation of humanity. Like it's definitely an anti-fascism and anti-violence and anti-racism show. But um, I do think the author accidentally made a anti-Semitic show. Like the Jewish characters having like a real danger about them that they can't control in the Titan Curse is anti-Semitic, and the more I looked into it, the more it fit with the blood libel stuff, and like I believe that part. I don't. It, it's hard to say because he isn't very good at. He doesn't want to stake a point. He doesn't stake a. He doesn't want to go on record and talk about the series in some ways that might make it less controversial. But I do believe he set out to make an anti-fascism and racism series, and he maybe accidentally made something that was a little anti-Semitic. When you look into it too, from the history of from like a Japanese viewpoint, there are some other things that could come up when it comes to what the whole thing is symbolizing, which I think is very interesting in that Western and Eastern audiences might see two different things out of the same story, which is cool, which is layered. But I do agree that it's kind of anti-Semitic. So whoopsie doodle. Let me know what you think about Attack on Titan. Uh, I was looking for another anime, and I still haven't found it yet. So I was kind of interested in Berserk, and then I realized it's kind of age restricted on Crunchyroll, and I would need to get into someone else's email and figure out how to unrestrict my age setting. So I don't know. I don't know if Berserk is going to work for that one, but I watched a little bit of G Gundam on Crunchyroll. Uh, that may not have aged too well. I guess give me your anime suggestions, and I'll see if I'm going to watch it.